What's going on? What's going on, man? Another live game, game four NBA Finals reaction, man, with yours truly, Coach Cloud. Follow Cloud9 underscore talk on IG, Cloud Hoops Consultant on all platforms, IG, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, man. We need to subscribers up. My bad about that. I'm just a little excited for this game four. This game four was probably the best game of the NBA Finals in probably the last 3, 4 years, probably since the Bucks and Suns series. Like I said, that was an underrated series. A lot of people don't want to give that series the credit. The Bucks was down 2-0. But hey, the Pacers had a big, big, big opportunity to go 3-1. But they had a hot first half, good first 3 quarters. But that fourth quarter, they gotta close that out better though, man. They let OKC, who wasn't shooting the ball particularly well, had over 15 turnovers, and they still won the game. Like I said, man, I think OKC did a lot of growing up today. They showed a lot of heart, man. And shout out to SGA, man. He had 15 points in the fourth quarter. It don't get better than that. A lot of people was chattering. My cousin, my co-host is talking about he's not like that. He's top 10. He's not even barely top 10. Did you see today's game? 15. No, 15 points in the fourth quarter in the NBA Finals. It don't get better than that. That's all I'm gonna say is, man, 15 points in the fourth quarter in the NBA Finals. Like I said, people can talk what they want. Oh, he's a foul merchant. He's this, he's that. Hey, man, 15, he outscored the Pacers' whole team in the fourth quarter. So they got to put some more respect on MVP, man. He out there, slicing and dicing, making shots. So, he's finding a way to win, getting it done. So, like I said, a lot of players that like to hype up, they're not doing what he's doing, especially in the NBA Finals. They had a chance. The Pacers had a chance to go up 3-1. It was up by 10 going into the fourth quarter. And, they just couldn't close the game out. Halliburton had 18 and 7 assists. Yeah, that's cool for a Wednesday night in Indiana, but it's the NBA Finals though. Friday night, Game 4. So that's what happens. When you think you could just come in and just do what you want to do. Oh yeah, Obi Toppin, he had a great game off the bench, and Nate Smith, he played hard, fouled out. So that was another key component when he having a lot of fouls. It's hard for them to really overcome. That's their best defender too, on ball defender. So, like I said, it's gonna be a very interesting, game five for the Pacers to, to regroup because they had a chance to go up 3-1. I must keep saying that they could have won up 3-1 and maybe close this out in 5 or 6. Because like I said, in the playoffs, this playoffs particularly, the Pacers are undefeated in game fives. So the Pacers, they did a great job, putting pressure on OKC. They was wearing it on. But shout out to Jalen Williams. Looking like he's really looking like an all NBA guy, man. He just was just slicing and dicing, getting to the rim with ease. They just keep, putting pressure on that rim. Indiana has no shot blockers other than Miles Turner. But you spread them out. Hey, the paint is wide open. I know Miles Turner had 5 blocks last game. But this game, hey, it's a different ball game. Yeah, you still at home, but hey, like I said, that's why OKC they fight to see another day. Tied it up 2-2. Now they get a chance to go up 3-2, maybe do it 4-2. Win the NBA Finals. Like I said, this Finals, man, it's been very, very competitive. It's getting a little chippy too. This game four. Both teams they getting annoyed with each other. They're just ready to beat down and ready to see who's the best team at the end of the day. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. I still like OKC in 6 or 7. If whoever wins game five, Indiana got to come out, their best game five, to really, close this thing out in 6. But what the OKC Thunder did, they showed me they grow it up, just like the Denver series, they grow it up. They put their big boy pants on. I was like, all right, guys, it's time to, step up to the challenge. They fought a lot of adversity today. And, they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, just turning the ball over, but they played hard, made stops, and they rebounded in the fourth quarter. They was getting them rebounds. See, that's another thing. Rebounds is eliminated in them extra possessions, the dunk tips from Obi Toppin. So, Chet stepped up with some big rebounds in the fourth quarter. They don't get better than that. They gotta just, regroup. Pacers gotta figure out how can we do a better job of closing out games in the fourth quarter. They blew it out. This is like the like a game one type of vibe. Pacers was down all game. OKC was down all game. Then they came up in the fourth quarter, turned it up. I think another defining moment in the fourth quarter is when OKC they was down like four and they cut it to one. It was 105, 101. Sloppy play. OKC got the ball. SGA got a easy three, step in three, and that changed the game. I think that got him going too. That's what really had. He went on like a 7-0 run by himself in the fourth quarter during that stretch. Once he hit that three, once you see that ball going as a score, like SGA, a pure score. You see how he just creating contact, still finishing through contact off the mid range, off the dribble. Young fellas, you see what he's doing. He's creating space and rhythm. So you want to go through Combs. Combs can't teach you how to do what he do. Got to have that footwork and that focus of just knocking down those tough shots. He's a tough shot maker. That's why he's the MVP, and I think that's why the OKC Thunder is going to win at 6 or 7 games. So let's get order. I'm a box score junkie. That's the box score tells you a lot about the games. As a coach back in my coaching days at Fordham and Division II. Shout out to Notre Dame once again. I'm always shout out to Notre Dame. We always used to look at the box score, halftime, and then obviously after the game, that shows you key stats of why you lost the game. So let's see what happened and see why the OKC won this game. So as you can see, OKC shot the ball 3 for 17. That's tough to win a game on the road in the NBA Finals. 3 for 17 and still win a game. They shot 17% for three. Pacers had 11 for 39. Can you, like I said, 3 for 17, 11 threes. The Pacers made 8 more threes. You definitely should have won that game. It was up by 10 going into the fourth. Points off turnovers. The Pacers had 25 to the OKC. Points off turnovers 23. But guess what? See this 21 to 10 assists. That's alarming. That is very alarming that the Pacers still had 21 assists and still had also 16 turnovers. So, 16 turnovers is really, really hard to come by, and OKC only had 10. 10 assists to 16 turnovers, and they still won a game. That just shows you. But another key stat, rebounds. The one I said, Chad was getting no rebounds. You out rebound a team by 10, you're gonna win that game. Just like how the Pacers did game one. This game has a lot of similarities to game one of the NBA Finals and game four. I think game one and game four definitely was the best, finals so far of this, playoffs. Just interesting games. Both teams came back. So now it's tied up 2-2. It's gonna be interesting to see, who comes back, and really take control of this game, the series, I mean. Because like I said, man, SGA going 15 in the fourth, that's just, superstar status right there. That's why he's the MVP. But like I said, man, I think OKC gonna really come out and just, blow the doors on the Pacers this next game. Because, they really didn't play that well. They really didn't shoot the ball well. Jordan didn't shoot the ball well. Caruso didn't shoot the ball well. And I think the bench like Joe and Wiggins, they're gonna shoot the ball way better at home. Role players always play way better at home, more comfortable. Got the crowd, got your family there in attendance. It's gonna be a very, very, it's gonna be popping. Popcorn is gonna be popping to OKC. I think it's gonna be a long, long road for Pacers to get back and regroup. Because like I said, they had a chance to go up 3-1. And when you up that many points all game, people talking about the refs cheated. Nah, Pacers, they didn't make shots in the fourth quarter. They just gotta, execute better. You play good that first 40 minutes. But like I said, them last 8 minutes is money time. Definitely gotta make shots. Stop turning the ball over. Put the ball in the best player's hands. And I felt like, Nembhard, Naismith, Turner, they took a lot of ill-advised shots. Where Siakam and Halliburton, they could have took more shots in the fourth, especially in crunch time, than they did. I like how Halliburton was getting to the rim. I always feel like he should get to the rim more. OKC doesn't really have a lot of shot blockers as well. They have Chet. That's about it. Other than that, they're kind of small outside of Chet and Hartenstein. They don't play Jalen Williams. Like really, the Pacers are bigger and deeper than the OKC. That's why they've been wearing them down. I like how J Dub is running the point more, making SGA more fresh for the fourth quarter, which he did. Had 15 points. I'm gonna say that again. I've already said it about 15 times already because he had 15 points in the NBA Finals fourth quarter. It don't get better than that. So let's just we got to give a shout out to J Dub, man. He was getting to the rim. They outscored the Pacers 50-36 in the paint. That was big. I told you the Pacers don't really have that many shot blockers as far as just Miles Turner. He had 5 blocks last game. I don't know how much he had this game, but I know he didn't have 5 because five that just you just altering a lot of shots. So shout out to the OKC, man. When they wasn't shooting the ball particularly well from the outside, they was getting it done in the paint. Just straight John drive, going to the free throw line. Just playing basketball. Like I said, you can't fall in love with the three. I know you live and die by the three, but hey, if you got a chance to tie it up, get to the paint, get gritty, get those rebounds. And I just feel like they grew up and showed the grittiness of why they won 68 games. You don't win 68 games just blowing teams out all the time. You get them by just coming back, finding ways, different ways to win. That shows you why I feel like they are a championship caliber team for years to come because they're growing up in front of our eyes. This is just like how the 2015 Warriors was. They didn't have the best, performances when they played against the Cavs, a depleted Cavs team by as well. People kind of sweep that under the rug. But this particular group, they're battling. A lot of a lot of media was coming at them, and they just, put the big boy pants on, hard hat, and got ready to play. Hopefully, my Lakers can learn from this. They don't want to get bigs and they don't want to play defense. They want to just outscore teams. But you see what OKC is doing. They're just putting their heads down and getting to the paint. Points off turnovers, creating opportunities for them to win by if that's rebounding, getting that extra steal, and just getting deflections. Playing lockdown defense. I feel like when you control the boards like that, it's hard for teams to really capitalize, especially in the fourth when teams start to miss and they get out of rhythm. Just because you play good the first 3 quarters, you gotta finish the game strong. And I feel like Halliburton should have really took more shots in the fourth rather than just waiting to the last 4 minutes to really get it going in the fourth quarter. Because the team needs you. You got to put more pressure. I feel like if you're more aggressive early, that puts more pressure on OKC to really make adjustments to see like, oh, how can we get Halliburton? So it's gonna be very interesting. I don't think Obi Toppin has another 20-point game in him or McConnell. They're gonna be aware of Connor. I think they're gonna get Connell posting up. I get McConnell in foul trouble. I'll get Naismith, Nembhard. Just keep going to the paint, keep driving. Not to say that I'm a OKC, front runner, but I just see the potential and as this budding dynasty that has a chance to really capitalize on this series because they got the talent. I feel like Mark Daigneault is one of the hottest coaches in the game in all sports. They get praised, Joe Mazzulla and all these other guys, but Mark Daigneault, the coach of the year, that led his team. They got better and better every year. I was just looking at his head coaching record. He won 20 games, won 24 games, won 57 games, and now they won 68 games this year in year 5. So this guy's really been coaching his butt off these last 5 years, won in the G League, and now you see why, they came, never gave up, always fought through the adversity. They embraced the challenge. You got to embrace the challenge when you're down, when you're, down on your luck. You got to, empty up the tank. And that's what OKC did, man. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well. Like I said, they shot 3 for 17. It's hard to win games. You shoot 3 for 17, especially in the NBA Finals. In the playoffs, on the road, when you're down 2-1, when the team can go up 3-1, they have a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. So it's hard. It's very, very hard. But like I said, man, shout out to SGA. Shout out to J-Dub. Shout out to Caruso. They all got it done. Check. Man, I thought he was gonna break his ankle the way he was just kept falling on the ground, made key layups, got to the hole. He showed a lot of toughness, man. Sometimes when you're that skinny, it's kind of hard to see if he's gonna hold up that tight. But he just kept battling, and just played great defense. They tried to pick on him in the pick and roll. Just locked down, moved his puppies, kept sliding his feet, used his length. They made great shots. They was blocking shots too as well. But OKC can't get too comfortable because this Pacers team knows how to come back and regroup. They're like cockroaches. You think you killed them, but they're still coming back. They're still coming back. So, I feel like Miles Turner, he has to have a 20-point game or over 20 points for them to really have that edge for them to win. Because if he's scoring 20, that means OKC bigs got to match that 20 because Hardenstein hasn't really been playing well. He only shot one field goal, 18 minutes. Not really getting up much from him. They're not even really using him as a factor. So, they really, really got to get Harden starting the ball. And Miles Turner can take advantage of that, just instead of just taking fadeaway mid ranges or off the dribble twos. Like I said, it's hard. It's hard. It's the NBA Finals. Got to get down and deep. I need a big performance from Miles Turner. Siakam, he got to close out the fourth quarter better. If you're supposed to be the go-to guy, take over, get to the free throw line. I feel like he be taking too many jump shots, too many tough shots. Them hard. He can only do so much. So, they play well. But like I said, man, the Thunder, they showed you why they won 68 games. And they probably won over 80 games already this year in the playoffs, including the playoffs. So it's a lot of luck and determination to really win the championship. We see how close the NBA Pacers are, close to just, closing the series out, going up 3-1, trying to, win on the road. But now OKC has a chance to win two straight and, close the deal, deliver the goods to the city of Oklahoma City. That fan base, both got both fan bases. I feel like, Pacers got one of the best arenas and crowds in sports. So, they had, the crowd did their job. I heard the TV like, they're cheating, they cheated, they cheating. Nah, they wasn't cheating. You guys just ran out of gas, ran out of luck. And the best player on the best team on his court, he did what he had to do, man. He did his job, closed the game out. Him and J Dub, all NBA guards. They showed you what they can really do for years to come. Take over the West in the league. They just getting downhill. You keep going downhill instead of settling for tough threes and tough mid ranges all the time. The game comes easy. You just keep putting pressure on the Indiana Pacers defense. But I'm not going to just say the Pacers didn't play well because, like I said, their defense is really, really stagnated. They're really very frustrated. OKC, like I said, they made them turn it over 16 times. And I think they only turned the ball over one time, OKC, in the fourth quarter. So that was really a good tough, or how OKC really took care of the ball in the fourth quarter because it's not really easy to overcome 3 for 17 shooting. But the Pacers, they did a lot of hard edges. They pick you up full court press, and that wears you down. They just pressing you, like I said, just like the old Dunbar team, and they just keep wearing you down. So, like I said, Pacers, they're gonna come ready to play. Rick Carlisle knows what he's doing. They know they blew it. So, like I said, I've been in games where I was coaching. We've been up feeling real good, drinking caviar, champagne. I wish, but it happens. It's basketball. It's a game of runs, and I always say, man, don't get too high, don't get too low, because you gotta stay even killed. This game is full of momentums. You can't get emotionally involved. You see DeMarcus Cousins going crazy over there in Puerto Rico, acting like a damn fool. Like I said, you gotta compose yourself, act like you've been there before. And I feel like the way OKC and SGA act like they've been there before. They always cool, calm, and collected. They don't get better than that, especially under pressure. Just think about how they was, thinking going down 10 into the fourth quarter. They probably, feel like, damn, we about to go home, third down 3-1. Nah, they tied it up. I remember early in the first half, when SGA seen Chat on the ground, he was like, hey, man, we need you, man. Come on, toughen up. That just showed you good leadership. That means he was locked in. He wasn't worried about his guy. And Chat showed great toughness and grittiness as a young player that missed a lot of time in his young NBA career. And he's just showing you like, hey, man, I'm tougher. Just because I'm skinny, the best is yet to come. He showed a lot of toughness, man. And that's the game. The game always honor toughness. I remember my OG, shout out to Coach Anthony Evans at UMass, man, my former Norfolk State and FIU coach. The game honor toughness. You always just say that, the toughest team always wins. And I feel like OKC, it was a tougher team tonight. They never got down on themselves and just put their hard hats and just, drove the ball. Got down 10. Pacers just hitting shots off the bench. Hey, that's okay. We're going to weather the storm. And, they just did their job and kept, kept chipping that wood. So, more of the story is Never give up. The game is not over till that buzzer sounds. So rebounding, it show you how crucial it is to rebound. Yeah, everybody can score, but at the highest level, rebounding and just like little stuff like that, it just saves you the game, man. It takes away possessions. Say if the OKC don't get some of them rebound, it might be a whole different ball game. It might be a whole different. They might go down 3 points. They don't get those. Out rebounding them by 10. So, SGA had to go SGA, Superman. Dun, 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 dun. Superman in the fourth quarter with 15. So, it's a game of runs, all about adjustments. We're gonna see. I think it's gonna be a great game 5. Maybe it could be a great game 5, or it could be a blowout. So, both teams, they've been throwing punches. So we're gonna see how Indy responds. All odds is on Indy. Okay, see, I feel like they're gonna come out, trying to blow them out like they did the first game 2 and game 1, but they blew it. So we're gonna see. So it's gonna be very, very interesting to see how Rick Carlisle, Hallie, and the boys, regroup and try to, see how they can close out this game better. They had the best half in the final so far. They put up 62 points. So that's a good sign right there. Now I thought it was gonna, finish in the 120s, how the way the pace of the game was. And it ended up, playing OKC's favor of, kind of slowing down, making it rugged, just getting to the hole. And like I said, if your three's not hitting like OKC, just put your head down and get to the hole. Make good shots, make good reads. You don't have to shoot the ball all the time. I know young guys like to settle for the 3, step back jumpers, tough shot. That's what got Minnesota put out by, just shooting bad shot selections. OKC, they just, they play good basketball down the stretch. They don't turn the ball over when it matters most. They hit their free throws. Last game 3, they was missing a lot of free throws. Missed like 5 or 6 straight free throws down the line. And you can't win games like that when, or close out games when you're missing free throws. And OKC made a better adjustment. They're dogs. You got the best players in the hand. You see, when OKC knows it's time and money, it's between J-Dub, SGA, and Chad off a catch or a slip or a pick and pop 3. So, they got options. Andy, they kind of go hot potato when it's time to really, get 7 seconds or less in the shot clock. Hallie, he likes to do the DHOs or, like a little side screen, dump it over, try to get to the hole. They like to survey. Sometimes it's hard. You going against stifling defense, especially when they know what you're doing. It's the NBA Finals, game 4. They know what you do. They got all the film in the world and scouting to, really double down and see what you do. So I think it's going to be really, really, really tough for Indy to really have that first half like they did. Because I think OKC, they didn't play that well. They're going to make more than 3 threes. Hell, J-Dub and Shaq, they're going to get more than that alone by themselves. So really, really look out for that. I think Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are going to have a phenomenal game 5 because they didn't really play too well these last couple games. But they're coming back on the road. Coming back home. It's the home cooking. It's gonna be a big party. Get your popcorn popping Monday night. Game 5 in Oklahoma City. But I just want to give a little recap about this game, how to get right to it. Right after the game, because I see all these people, all these critics, downplaying how the media coverage and how bad there's no star power in the NBA Finals. Man, did y'all just see this NBA Finals? The MVP just had 15 in the fourth quarter. Indiana had a chance to go up 3-1. What do y'all want? It's a great buzz. Just tied 2-2. Hopefully go game 7. But I got Thunder in 6. So like I said, like, share, and subscribe. Cloud9_talk on IG. Doing crazy with WWE stuff, So, we got more content over there, more film reviews, like I said, like the centers. So, I gotta go to the movies, man. It's a lot of movies coming out. Fantastic Four, Jurassic Park, Superman, new Superman. Definitely excited to go see that. Gotta see the new John Wick ballerina. So, hey, it's gonna be a really, really good summer after the NBA Finals. So, hey, stay tuned, man. Monday night, Game 5 in Oklahoma City. We're gonna see what the Pacers or the Oklahoma City who gonna win to take control of this series, going up 3-2. See you next time.